The songs of Justin Vernon, also known as Bon Iver, have been a companion to me for years. And it was a thrill to sit with him in the old-fashioned flesh and experience his warmth and tenderness and wisdom. Justin is a person who experiences deeply, who metabolizes that creatively, and who just keeps growing.
I know now that I can't make good how I wish I could. Go back and put me where you stood. Nothing's really something now, the whole thing should.
He leaned into a sweet and searching conversation with me about love and despair and healing, and about the deep working of time in a life, and the mystical nature of numbers, and the problem of fame.
As I fill my book, oh, what a waste of wood. Nothing's really happened like I thought it would.
Justin has been on an adventure with all of this since releasing his first album in 2007, For Emma Forever Ago, and finding himself on a trajectory of success that was beyond his imagining.
And I told you to be patient, and I told you to be fine, and I told you to be balanced, and I told you to be kind, and now all your love is wasted, and then who the hell was I? And I'm breaking at the bridges, and at the end of all your lives.
He's collaborated with many artists since then, from Taylor Swift to the Blind Boys of Alabama to Travis Scott. And he's now released his fifth album, Sable, fABLE. This one tells of immense learning, and he opens that up for us with care and generosity. I'm Krista Tippett, and this is On Being. I interviewed Justin Vernon at the 2025 On Airfest in Brooklyn, New York. He lives and makes music in Eau Claire, Wisconsin. What a cool mic.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Handheld situation.
So I'm so happy to be back at On Airfest. I've been here twice. And both of those conversations, the first one with Ocean Vuong, the day a state of emergency was declared in New York and this virus was coming and we didn't understand how our lives were about to change. But he was prophetic, and the energy, I mean, I remembered this energy, right? And how we were sitting so close in our bodies and, hanging on to that memory and the fact that we'd do it again, and here we are. And then Dr. Vivek Murthy, 2 years ago, was also incredible in this room. And I know we're going to have another beautiful experience again with Justin.
Me too. Glad to be here.
Oh. I bet you also, like me, hate kind of litanies of your accomplishments. So I'm just going to say that you are beloved and acclaimed.
I'll take it.
Okay. And I think that there's a creative challenge here, which I love, which is that we're going to spend some of our time talking about an album which is not yet in the world. And anyway, I think when we put this conversation out into the world, although also for me, your music is so important and has been with me in so many ways across time, there will be people who haven't inhabited it. And so I think a lot, there's the new Bob Dylan movie, right, which is so fantastic. But I think some musicians and songwriters are like portals. And the music comes through them in some mysterious way. but they can't really put words around what they're doing or the why of it. And I think you are unusual in that your body of work over time, you're very consciously kind of grappling with like not just what it means to be you, but what it means to be alive. And we experience you, and this is very much true in the new album. We experience you, searching and stretching and growing. And I was able to be in a listen yesterday, where you were also listening. I don't know what that was like.
That part of might have been a mistake, to be in the room.
To be in the room?
I felt like a hawk watching everybody.
Yeah.
I'm glad you got to hear it.
Oh, it was an incredible sound system, listening all the way through, so it's fantastic. But I think I love the creative challenge that we're going to talk about what it all means. Mm-hmm. And people won't necessarily have the music in their ears, even when they hear the show. And also, we all know about rights issues, right? So we're already worrying about just the little bit of music we might be able to get for the show. And I want to talk a little bit, just get to know you, and then we'll come to the new album. Yeah. And I am interested in this question that I love to ask, which I think you know. I'm curious about the spiritual background of your childhood, knowing that you went on to major in religious studies at college and write a senior thesis called Leaving Religion, Finding God.
Oh, that's right.
How would you talk about, what was that spiritual background?
Yeah, I mean, I grew up in Lutheran church, kind of. My mom, went to this little church out south of Eau Claire, Wisconsin, where her parents met, like as Norwegian kind of immigrants, like on one hill to another. So there's this deep sort of just like church, family, church, baked goods and coffee, bad coffee in the basement. And yeah. I always really liked it, and I liked the symbols and I liked the music. My mom was an organ player in the church and from a really young age. And so we always would go to church. My dad never went. And I think, sometime around I was 12 or 13, we started kind of asking a lot of questions. And I think we just stopped going. I think the pastor maybe said a couple of things that my mom wasn't quite too hot on.
Oh, your parents stopped going too.
Yeah, and so we all kind of stopped going as a family, but we had this discussion. And I think my dad not being of any kind of religious background, he was always, but generous about talking about why, but that, our family is, if there's God, it's us. And it's like these kind of things. So I was always quite, drawn to the mysticism, I think, because I think I've always just been obsessed with what music does to people and what it seems to, the music's always part of a church service, right? Yeah. And I like everyone singing and all that. So I was always drawn to that. And by the time I got to college, I felt like studying music, I was going to miss something. And I just wanted to learn more about what made people around the world and throughout history tick, how they answered these existential questions. Mm-hmm.
And were you playing music then too?
Yeah, from a pretty young age. Yeah, we always had music in the house.
But you didn't know that it would be your thing?
I think I did. I think for a minute I was maybe a basketball sportscaster, but I think...
Yeah, actually you were captain of the football team.
Yeah. I did. I still love team sports as a vehicle for understanding life too, but I think by the time Dad taught me G, C, and D, and I'd listened to John Prine, I did actually know what I was going to do. Yeah.
So 2006-ish, you've left home. How old were you then?
I was 25-ish, something like this.
So you've left home, as one does. You've left Wisconsin. You get mononucleosis. Does anybody still get mono? It sounds so simple compared to the things we get now.
Embarrassing. Yeah. I got it in my, mono is always you always heard about the sore throat, but I had it in my liver, and it was
yeah, it laid you low.
It really laid me low for months, and it swole up, and my spine was out of alignment for years, and yeah, it was pretty rough.
Yeah. So you go back, you end up in your father's hunting cabin in Wisconsin, and you create what becomes this album, For Emma Forever Ago. I think, so I've just moved to New York from Minnesota.
Oh, wow. You did. Congratulations.
Yeah,
you did it.
Yeah, thank you.
You got out.
Well, but I actually wanted to dwell on that just a little bit? Because when people write about you who are not from that part of the world, it's like this Midwestern thing. It's like, how did he stand the cold? I mean, I would like to just kind of dwell on the goodness of a long, cold winter and of solitude, which I actually think you've continued again and again to make part of your life.
Yeah. Well, said cabin, actually, Dad's pipes froze this week. It was negative 33 or something. But there's something beautiful about it, like when it gets cold, you don't really think about this, but for it to be that cold, there can't be really any moisture in the air. So it's just like blue sky and the sun is blazing and it's so cold that it's dangerous to be outside. But there's something so equalizing beautiful about it.
Yeah, but you can tell Mother Nature would kill you.
Yeah.
Right.
She will take you out.
She's beautiful and she would take you out.
Yeah.
And my sense is, I mean, did you even know that was becoming an album? You did?
I sure did.
Okay.
There was something that it was happening, and I was like, something different is happening.
Yeah.
I've been making music with my best friends and my brothers, really, for so many years, and we had kind of split up. And so I think just being on my own, there was this momentum from kind of moving back home from North Carolina. I only left for like a year, and I got so homesick. So there's just this momentum, and I kind of didn't know I was making an album and that it was something different.
But I get a sense that you were surprised by the fame and the success that came instantaneously.
Yeah, I did. I was very, very surprised.
You were very surprised and kind of uncomfortable with it.
Deeply uncomfortable with it. Yeah.
Well, say something about that.
Yeah, when I think growing up, I think I knew what I wanted to do, right? But I have friends who grew up in Los Angeles or out here, and I think you're maybe more used to seeing as examples of success. It sort of looks like that, or it looks like what it looks like. But being from Eau Claire, Wisconsin, it was like, well, I could, my examples were like weekend warriors or people that like printed their own CDs and toured around, Appleton, Racine, La Crosse, Superior,
maybe the Twin Cities if you really
exactly,
make it big.
That would be a really long trip.
Yeah.
So I think, and of course I had like dreams of like, touring the world and stuff like that. But I think any dreams that I had, I always say like those dreams were obliterated. They were just like right through the ceiling into the stratosphere. And there were some long periods of adjustment, and like I didn't even realize that I was adjusting in real time. I think there was this momentum and excitement for the first couple of years, and it was all like, wow, that's cool, this is happening, wow. And all the while, I think, confusion or discomfort building up,
Right.
kind of like log jamming.
Someone told me who knew someone
Like
who
that.
visited your house at some point after you won your first Grammy. They said you kept it on the back of the toilet.
I did, yeah.
Okay, we have confirmed this rumor.
I didn't want to. I mean, it's a little childish. I mean, it is funny. It was a little like childish, but it's in bubble wrap in the barn, which is not funny. So maybe I should bring it back. But I think I was just uncomfortable, and now I think I'm a little more willing to accept that that's just what it is, and I don't have to be. But I guess it was probably a defense thing, like, this thing that's happening is kind of too much for me to handle. I'm going to make fun of it.
And the award kind of symbolized all of that.
Yeah, exactly. It was definitely a symbol, quite literally, yeah.
And you once got into a friendly argument with the Kanye West about being too humble, or what humility was.
He really disagreed with my definition of that.
What was your definition?
I don't know, just the one that you know about. The one that is universally understood.
Yeah. I have thought about what the spiritual virtue of humility is, and I actually don't think it is that definition.
Yeah, that's actually kind of what he was getting to a little bit. He was like, no, but if you are too humble, then you don't have any. This is a long time ago.
Yeah.
Before we had some more deeply concerning arguments. But he had. I took his point in the sense of like, if you have a little bit of forward, if there's a little bit of ego with that humility. It's like I've learned a lot growing up in the Midwest. There can be false modesty kind of masquerading as like denial of self or something.
Well, I'm not sure that my definition is Kanye West's definition either.
Yeah, I'm curious to hear what you have to say about it.
No, but I think we internalize it as making yourself small or debasing yourself. But actually, as a virtue, it's more about wanting other people to be big.
Gosh, that's beautiful. I'm going to start saying that's the definition.
Because I think you do that, right? But okay, so fascinating. You know, I remember reading what people write about you and about that first album, and they'll use language like, you know, it was this beautiful album, the songs of a lovelorn man in a Midwestern winter, right? And so you also had this existential disorientation that people fell in love with this lovelorn, miserable you.
Yeah, that's tricky. It's tricky.
I mean, you said somewhere that you got a lot of positive feedback from being heartbroken.
Yeah, it started to become a weird loop where I think, you know, I was a confident kid, football captain and stuff like that, but I was shy and like always felt nervous about dances and dates and all that. And like sometimes it didn't happen for me and shit. And excuse me. But I think that I got a lot of validation from those first couple of years, you know, and I think it filled some gaps. You know, where my ego hadn't, you know, yeah, just filled those ego gaps.
But then, you know, it feels to me like, you know, just backstage we were talking about being embodied.
Yeah.
And I said to you that I've been in a big transition with my work, and I think post-pandemic, I want to be in rooms with people in their bodies, having shared experiences that we take in our bodies back to the places we come from.
Yeah.
And it seems like you also have this, you feel things somatically. So these pressures, this disorientation with you, again, kind of had manifested physically.
Yeah.
So, you know, you did an announcement. Did you write this?
What?
The announcement for the album?
Oh, I don't think so.
You know? Well, it said like, it had language like being Bon Iver meant playing a part. And actually, you know, your name is Justin Vernon.
Right. And
Bon Iver is, as people refer to it, as your alias.
Right.
Which is kind of a cool thing to have an alias.
I remember now, my friend Evan in Menominee, Wisconsin, wrote that. But we talked for a couple hours about what it all meant to me. And yeah, I mean, we were talking about like the getting a lot of validation for being heartbroken. I think, I don't know, I always use that metaphor like pressing on a bruise or like.
And like the world wanted you to press on that bruise.
Yeah, like it's like, you are so good at being so sad. Like, you know, and I had some stuff to be sad about, but I think, you know, it just kind of got stuck. Like there was really, the motion stopped. And for a long time, I think it feels very much like I'm coming up for air right now and recharging the battery. But I think it felt like squeezing the fruit so dry for so long and getting really, really uncomfortable towards the end.
And I think you just are a person who's always asking these questions of meaning, right? As I read you across the years being interviewed, you know, you keep coming to points in life, and this is a good way to live, where you just, you know, you're asking, what am I doing? Why am I doing this? What do I want to do it for?
Yeah.
Which are really the great questions.
Yeah, it's important. I mean, I think the whole apparatus of making a song really is just about growth and self-discovery. You know, I understand that the best songs that I ever heard were somebody discovering themselves through a piece of music, and that's just the magic of it. I mean, gosh, and that's why I fell in love with it, and that's why I'll always have to do it in some form, because I don't journal, you know.
Yeah, it's a good form of journaling that you do. But I mean, I think when you wrestle with the matter of fame and success. I mean, you're wound up in that is wrestling with what capitalism does to the making of music and the selling of music.
Yeah.
And you're planning not to go on a tour for this new album, and that's not really something you're supposed to do,
Right.
not do. So I think, to me, I've thought a lot about, I love questions, right? We all love questions in this room. I think the questions we're schooled in are the capitalist questions, and, how big, how much, how fast, how soon. And those are also the questions the music industry would ask about your album.
Yeah.
But, it's a question of moral imagination when you ask why and to what human effect, including, as you've said, like, how is this going to deplete me?
Yeah.
Or is this going to be life-giving?
Yeah.
And also, how much is enough?
Yeah. How much is never, right? And so I think, also being the Midwestern thing of trying to show up and to do the right thing and to work hard, and all these things kind of can combine into some treacherous choices, treacherous, existence. And, right now, just like not planning the tour is like giving me a lot of freedom, to, I don't know, like making this album made for 5 years. It's been very important to me personally. And now I just like have never had the time or energy to step back as it's about to come out and talk about some of this kind of stuff. I've been prepping a tour, getting everybody ready and getting myself ready and bracing like for a high impact, And so taking a step, and, it sounds like we're on a similar path, and, COVID gave us a lot of reflection points. And I just said, what if I didn't do this? And when I had that thought, it's just like this energy just drained out of my body into the wind,
Yeah.
And so I just like take the opportunity to take a moment and get embodied, because, for a good 10 years, I was living outside of my body. Like the boot was pressed on the chest, the breath was shallow, the vessel was not okay. And I feel like I missed out on so much. And if I could have slowed down, or rather just looking forward, just slow down. Like you'll be more available, not only the people that I work with and for, but for my family and my friends, be a better person. So I'm in that spot now where I'm finding that speed.
And I think paradoxically, and this is something that has kind of come through my, the progression of my work. I'm not really interested in spirituality that is merely spiritual. I think when it really gets interesting, it's when it's in our bodies.
Yeah.
And so, you actually are really, you're kind of a philosopher. That may not be the right word, but you do kind of a lot of cosmic wondering, right?
Yeah,
so,
yeah.
I mean, you like the word God these days.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm back saying it.
You're back saying it. Is that because even though we don't know what we're talking about, it's a word we can't live without?
I think I've gotten plenty of like healthy discussions about, existence of God and things like that with, some friends that, talking about Islam and so I think at a certain point, there's just like, if you take that word off the table, you kind of just don't have anything else, synchronicity, coincidence. These are also words that I use.
Not as good.
Not as good. Yeah. Doesn't have the same bell.
You don't have
to
the
it.
gravitas.
Yeah, exactly. So but I think, taking it, I used to definitely be, what do you call it? Antithetical? No, it's the word I'm looking for.
Agnostic? Or?
I mean, what's when you don't believe in God? Atheist, sorry.
Yeah.
Antithetical.
You were.
I'm getting my philosophy words jumbled up. Atheist, and I was like very like anti. Like
You were.
I studied Christian history. I'm just like, no,
Yeah.
this is not it. We are certainly not doing things correctly, like war and taking and pillaging. It's just none of it's. You were certainly wrong about this, and it's very angry, and so very atheist. And I think I softened and kind of get more agnostic. But then I softened off of agnostic because I feel like you were just saying so beautifully, that the real spirituality is like in our body, like where we can feel things we can't explain with our language. And I just was like, I do know. Agnostic means not knowing. I was like, I do know. I do know that there's something going on that we should not ignore. Yeah.
You also have kind of a mystical relationship to numbers, which is really there in the 22 Million album. Is that connected to religion, or is that from a different place?
I don't know. I mean, I definitely liked like Bible verses. Like I loved, like there was an Isaiah 41:30. I don't remember now. It was my license plate in high school, but it was very like football, getting ready for football kind of verse. But I think
that's a very American Christian thing to say.
Yeah, exactly. See, it all has its use. No, I just think the number 22 is just, I don't know, does everybody have like a lucky number or just a number that follows them around, right? And that 22 has always been and always will be that number that you see on the clock, or it just shows up in ways. And, my friend Eric's here that does all the artwork. We collaborated with all that stuff. And after a while, it's just fun to like put a bunch of stuff on the wall and be like, what do we see? But for me, for real, like the one number that always was the thing was 22. And I allowed it to have power. Because if it can, you should give it to it and see what it says. It's like astrology or something, like, really? But if you can see a pattern there and it gives you something and it's real and it does the thing in the body, then it can be very powerful.
Mm-hmm. And you also have, I think, a fascination with time, which is such an amazing. It's a big one. And it's just so thrilling.
Yeah, I mean, I had a professor once talk about time, and I've always thought about it in a couple different ways. But time is definitely like going forward linearly, but it's also like in the circle, and it hits itself when it keeps going forward, and also like a VHS machine, like. The future's in the one spool and the past is in the other, but it's like the present is right where those magnetic heads are hitting, but there's echoes. If you ever had an old tape, there's like old images are burnt into the present. And I like thinking about that stuff, that we're not experiencing it quite so perfectly and linearly like we're kind of told.
And that's what physics says too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm having trouble understanding quantum stuff, but yeah. but I get it. I can feel it. But I'm like, when they start talking about, like, we went to CERN in Switzerland, and I was like, cool, dudes. Like,
yeah.
No idea, but I can see it. Like when one particle in one part of the universe changes, another one that it's related to changes billions of light years away. It's like, that makes sense.
Yeah. So, the new album. Sable / fABLE. And fABLE has a small f, not capitalized, but the rest of it is capitalized. What's the symbolism of that?
You're having an argument or you're saying something and you want to clarify, like something so-and-so with a lowercase t. Or whatever, like,
yeah.
Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, so lowercase fABLE.
Yeah. It's like it's a fable, but lowercase.
Okay.
Like, not the big one.
Yeah. And I mean, just like thinking about what you just said about time, I feel like this album, it carries where you've been, it carries what you've come to, what you've learned. It doesn't try to make all of that add up. It looks at the complexity of it. Mm-hmm. Like the first, and there are two parts to it. Sable is one part and fABLE is the other. Mm-hmm. I mean, the first song, things behind things behind things, the context that inform context. And you're writing about your life or what's happened in your body in time. But I feel like when I see that things behind things, the fact that life works that way and that reality is all those layers is something I feel like in our life together writ large we have forgotten.
Yeah.
it's so meaningful to just name that that's how it all works.
I would like the feeling. I would like the feeling. I would like the feeling gone. 'Cause I don't like the way it's. I don't like the way it's. I don't like the way it's looking. I get caught looking in the mirror on the regular. And what I see there resembles some competitor. I see things behind things behind things. And there are rings within rings within rings.
I was talking to my best friend on the phone, and he said that phrase because he was just like, I just like go in and try to fix myself or heal, but it's like you just go into the garage of your soul and you just can't find anything. You can't. It's like you have to move this to get back there, but you block something else, and it's overwhelming. It can be quite, a lot of despair can be in there with that stuff, a lot of pain.
Mm-hmm. And the way it's kind of described in language that somebody wrote, maybe not you, but it sounds like you.
Yeah.
Is that Sable? The first part of this is kind of songs of reflection, fear, solitude, atonement. You do like religious words, words like atonement.
Yeah.
And they also have that gravitas, right? That we just don't get with other words.
Yeah, it's true. It's true.
Oh, also a controlled burn. So that Sable, this part of the album, and this part of you, which is combined with this other half, fABLE, small f, is a controlled burn, clearing the way for new possibilities.
Yeah, I think Sable is like, we were talking a bit about it earlier, sort of like Sable was me reckoning with the fact that I've been a sad boy, and kind of pointing at it, trying to have a little bit of humor with it, but some pretty serious looks in the mirror about what it is to remain in that cycle of like, am I hurting myself to make more pain, to have more eyes on me because I'm insecure? So I think those songs are quite literally like, that's that package of, that's the dark. Sable's the blackest color, and fABLE was me like trying to locate the sun and walk towards it. I wrote one song called Everything is Peaceful Love, like in November of 2019. I was feeling good for a change, and I just said, I'm going to put this up on the shelf and just wait until other songs feel like that. I wrote other sad stuff in that time because I think I'm used to it, and you have echoes in your body and whatnot. And I was just like, I want to make something that if I ever have to go out and tour this, like that I might not have intense, painful memories every single time I have to sing one of these songs.
Yeah.
Maybe I could switch this whole ship around by finding joy. People came into my life, and I thought I was done being surprised by people coming into your life and changing you, but it turns out I was not done being surprised. And when somebody comes into your life and kind of has like this mysterious way of showing you this good part of yourself that you maybe thought was gone, it was very inspiring. And it's there's lessons in there, hence the fABLE. But again, just trying to head towards that light and relent to it.
It keeps happening. I'm 20 years ahead of you.
I feel like I'm feeling that. Yeah. I'm excited about it.
I mean, I feel like the fABLE, to me, I don't know what I think I remember Elizabeth Alexander, the poet, saying, you don't ask is this a true, right? It's not like, what is this a true story the poem is telling us? She said the poem is about undergirding truths. So when I look at the lyrics of these songs, when I listen to them, I feel like they are kind of like this drama and odyssey of giving into love, and really not just giving into love, but loving, giving into loving. And how it comes still, there's heartache and always the possibility of heartache, and also it gives you life.
Yeah. I mean,
is that true?
That's the thing. Yeah. You have to take it. And like, I think, I experienced some heartache, some heartbreak, and some confusion. It's really kind of the same thing, right? It's like kind of an inability to accept the truth or something. And it hurts a lot, but I've learned so much. Again, continuing to steer towards the light in those minute ways every day, those little changing direction, those heartbreaks turn into gold, into like knowledge of the complexity of love, like that romance can be a distraction for like the deeper currents of love and the deeper rewards of love. Not that romance isn't great, but I've learned so much these last couple of years going through, the growth and steering. And like you said, it's like, it's good to still be surprised.
Yeah. You speak about truth, right? That's what music, and I think that a song can be true. Mm-hmm. And again, we're not talking about factual truth, which I always these days, it feels so important to me that we make the connection between what we know in our lives and what we know in our larger life together. And, when we argue about, when we trade facts, we're ignoring the fact that truth has to land in a body.
Yeah.
And that's a much more complicated thing than something computing in your brain.
So,
but music, what strikes me when I read you, because I think about this a lot right now, and then I read you talking about truth, and I think like music has always understood this. Because it always conveys truth through the wholeness of us.
Yeah, there's no debate what music does.
There's no debate.
Yeah. I guess there is some debate with music. Some people don't like country and some people don't like rap. But yeah.
But there's no debate with what it's doing to you at like a molecular level or to your heart, whatever the heart is.
Exactly. Yeah. It's absolutely true. And, in the time when there seems to be everything is polar and like there's arguments and words that have multiple definitions and war, and it's like very confusing out there. I just want everyone to remember that exact thing. I'm going to write down what you just said, because you can't convince people with words. You just can't. It's not happening, and it will not happen. You have to convince them with something that is already in there, something that they already have, I guess the best way to try to communicate that, is with music for me,
Yeah. I'd love to just read some of the wisdom that I feel is in some of these lyrics. This is from Short Story, which begins, "Oh, the vibrance!" exclamation point.
Thanks for noticing the exclamation point.
But it ends with, like, that's not the lovelorn man in the Midwestern winter.
Yeah.
But then, you have these incredible lines. Time heals, and then it repeats. You will never be complete. And the strain and thirst are sweet. You have not yet gone too deep. Which is really, I think, the beginning of wisdom.
I got nothing. Hearing you say that has got me emotional.
Yeah, when you, do you remember writing that, or?
Yep.
You do?
Yeah. You
want to tell us about it?
I don't know if I can. No, it's just so true, and I'm talking to myself, you're not gone, homie,
I've got others, but we have 10 to 20 minutes if we stretch it. But here's one. This is from, so I feel like the songs are this kind of progression from, in a way, what you talked about, like the romance and the complexity. And do you know this notion of, in physics, of deep truth? So the idea is that the definition of a deep truth, as opposed to, again, you could say merely factual truth, which can be contested, is that its opposite is also likely true.
Wow. Of course.
So like Sable, fABLE is really a musical exploration of that in a way. I do love, again, it's, we begin with the vibrance exclamation point.
Yeah.
And then a little bit later, there's this song From, where you just say, just take my love in your time. And there's this beautiful line, I'm beset with what we could become. It's poetry, incredible poetry.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes you really want something to happen,
Yeah.
Really, really want it to happen. And you're just like, you're braced for it. You're like, it's the only thing once you start to feel one of those truths, right? Or the truth in love, or you feel so seen or found by somebody, it's all you want. Because you just want that truth, ringing true,
That word beset, right? It's like filled, obsessed, occupied. But I don't know, it's a wonderful word. It's a small word.
Yeah. I think that was a thesaurus move. I haven't used... I haven't walked around saying beset before, but it's a good one. It's a good one.
I love the thesaurus. I mean, and then you kind of close with this song, There's a Rhythm. And this too is it's just the way life is, right? Mm-hmm. Can I feel another way? Or are less and more the same? Can I really still complain to be back here once again?
Yeah. Yep.
There's a rhythm, there's a rhythm, there's a rhythm, there's a rhythm.
Can I feel another way? Or are less and more the same? Can I really still complain to be back here once again? There are miles and miles of tape. Watch it, it's been saved. There's a rhythm to reclaim. Get tall and walk away. There's a rhythm, there's a rhythm.
It's a callback to, the first line of the song, Things Behind Things. Behind Things is... I don't like, actually I can't remember, I'm terrible with my lyrics, but it's something about I don't like the feeling, is basically.
Yeah,
and
I want
so
the
it's a
feeling
callback.
gone.
The last
I
song.
remember your lyrics. I want the feeling
Thank
gone.
you. And so that's a kind of a callback, and there's a rhythm of like, can I still, after all this journey, here I'm coming back to the same part of the cycle when time meets up with itself again, can I please feel another way? But I think it's actually I'm finally asking, for real, can we do this? Can we feel another way? Can I really still complain to be back here again feeling this way? Mm-hmm. Like, what can change? And I think that's all the next lines are sort of about standing up and walking.
Yeah.
Go. There is a rhythm. The only way, downriver is downriver. You can't go up,
Yeah, I think these are the last lines, but there are miles and miles to go, and I've been down this road before. There's another chance to show, no need to grow no more.
Yeah, it's like, I like that line, there's another chance to show.
Yeah.
And then no need to crow no more is like, the crow is a big image for me back in like the forever ago stuff. And for a long time I would see the crow in the tree and it was like an omen or as an example of like, I would almost see the crow and be like, that's the bad part of me. It's the omen. But over the years, you start to realize like maybe it's not all bad, and maybe there are two truths in one, and that the yin and the yang of things. But I'm glad to get that crow in there and to say you don't need to be sad anymore. You don't need to stare quite so sadly, and yeah. You don't have to sing. You don't have to sing like that anymore, homie, if you don't want. It's basically that's what I'm saying there.
Yeah. And as I'm reading the words, like I'm really happy you all be able to listen to it, because it's one thing for me to say it, as I say the words, I'm hearing you sing them, and it's really beautiful, and of course adds all these things below the things below the things.
Yeah.
I want to ask you before we finish, you've also been using the word patriotism lately, and you come from the middle of the country, and I do too. And even having lived in New York about a month, I'm starting to get this. I'm starting to get this remove from that, which is really interesting.
There's a lot of energy on the coasts, and boy, I love this city. I love Los Angeles. I love where I'm from, and I just, there is this thing where like the organizations and the government, they're on the coasts too, But where I'm from, like I was born into this town, into this rural area that just always felt so sacred to me. And my friend and mentor, Michael Perry, lives out by me, and he's always written so eloquently about it. But there's this thing that I can't separate myself from, and I watch a lot of Ken Burns. And I think, when you see history actually told in accurate form, you just see where things were missed. And I think that our part of the world, even within our home state, it's like I won't get political, don't worry, but it's like, when the elections were coming up out where I'm from, that they're not watching. And the people that are trying to reach America really are forgetting about a lot of us out here, and I say us because we're out there in the country where things are a lot different than they are here. And that's that thing about, that you can't convince us on a debate. You have to convince us with something that is in here already. And so I think that's why I feel patriotism. And I think America is just the microcosm for the success and destruction of the whole world in general, right? Like that's why it's such an interesting place to study and everything. But yeah, it's good to love and care for it. It's good to know what you have and to protect it too.
And when you use the word patriotism, what does that mean to you?
I mean, I think it's responsibility. I think for me, I also think it's so vital to understand what terrible, horrific destruction got America for freedom to exist. And so I try to hold all of it. Like you were saying about these these deep truths in physics, it's like all things are true. Both things are true. The way that we've arrived was dangerously. And I think that, with the flaws and the inconsistency on such a deep level that affects so many people, the way that this country operates, it's important to see those things, and it's okay to criticize and to want to, deinstitutionalize and whatever, all very important things to reconstruct, deconstruct. But there's something here that we ought to protect as well.
Something I noticed when I was listening through the new album, but I think it's true of your music in general. I didn't go back and check it, but I think it's true, is that your songs, so this is the language that came to me, and you have these like standing endings. It's like it just ends. Do you know what I mean?
You mean it doesn't fade out?
It doesn't fade out. It just stands. And I just, like, yesterday, I felt like I was barely breathing, and it stopped. Although you have this kind of coda in the new album where you get this lovely, lingering, beautiful kind of out kind of like this soft way to come back and, out of your body into the world, or stay in your body and the world a little different. I was just thinking about that as I thought about being with you today, and I don't know, have we not talked about anything that you'd really like to say, or what are you thinking right now what would you?
What am I thinking right now? I'm thinking that talking to you and seeing what your work I'm feeling what your work has done for so many people. That's what I'm feeling.
Thank you.
And I'm lucky to be here, you know. It's nice to have space for that gratitude, I think. You know.
Yeah, we're lucky to have you here. Thank you for that.
Yeah.
I wonder, because we trade in opinions and so much, and conclusions, and as we've discussed here, really about truth, and truth is bigger than all of that. But I wonder, like, what, and because questions have driven the right, good questions, and better questions. So if I ask you, just like in your life and looking at the world right now, what question are you living? Are you holding?
I wonder, I mean, I was going to ask if you meant like kind of individually or for the world, but I think they're more and more the same, right?
Yeah.
I just think it's, you know, my new therapist has helped me use this word investigate, be curious. We've said it a few times now in our talk today about truths and spirituality actually being in the body in different locations. And I think if we could all be curious about our fellow people and ourselves and be like, hey, what's happening? What's actually happening right now? I think we might be surprised that the answers are quite simple. And so right now I'm just trying to stay embodied, trying not to get taken away. You know, I'm very nervous, you know, to do this. I haven't been in front of people for a while, but it feels like a good thing that I did this for myself, and it feels good to share some of these things that I've thought about, because maybe they'll help other people be curious about themselves, you know. And if you can be curious about yourself, then maybe we could be curious about others and start to, rather than try to convince them, understand them.
Well, I want to thank you, I'm sure on behalf of all of us, for your music, and also for, it was just really a joy to kind of excavate, investigate your wisdom. So thank you, Justin Vernon, alias Bon Iver.
Thank you.
And thank you on Airfest.
Thank y'all.
Don't go too fast, mama. I'm steady on a rock tripping. I tell you that I'm not slipping, but tell me not a thing ripping. Let's say that there will be lipping, standing on top blinking. I tell you that I don't know, but you're favored now by 50, and I'm right at home. And damn if I'm not climbing up a tree right now, and everything is peaceful and riding.
Justin Vernon is a singer, songwriter, and producer. He is founder and frontman of the band, sometimes called an art project, known as Bon Iver, based in Eau Claire, Wisconsin. His new album, Sable, fABLE, is his fifth. He's received multiple Grammys and collaborated with many other artists. We spoke at the 2025 On Airfest in Brooklyn, New York. This episode was produced through the collaborative genius of Zach Rose, Chris Heagle, Kayla Edwards, Tiffany Champion, Carla Zanoni, and Andrea Prevost. Special thanks this week to Greg Jakubik, and also to all the good people at On Airfest.
Every little thing is love. Ride with me. And how I know that someday you might change.
Our funding partners include the Hearthland Foundation, helping to build a more just, equitable, and connected America, one creative act at a time. The Fetzer Institute, supporting a movement of organizations that are applying spiritual solutions to society's toughest problems. Find them at fetzer.org. Calliopeia Foundation, dedicated to cultivating the connections between ecology, culture, and spirituality, supporting initiatives and organizations that uphold sacred relationships with the living earth. Learn more at calliopeia.org. And the Osprey Foundation, a catalyst for empowered, healthy, and fulfilled lives. On Being is an independent production of the On Being Project, based in Minnesota and New York City.